early stage companies, I think often entrepreneurs feel like they have to be good at everything and they start hiring people and they tend to focus around the kind of marketing and the tech stack. And they forget that if they have an operational kind of yin and yang partner that can free up the entrepreneur to focus on their unique ability, that will really springboard the company at the same rate that hiring an amazing marketer will, or an amazing head of IT to kind of leverage the tech stack. Once they get it, that tends to be in the mid-sized organizations. That's when the companies do really kind of scale. They do understand it. I think almost every, for anybody in the Fortune 500, there's a COO in that company. Most mid-sized organizations, when you get to the 300 plus employees, tend to have an operational head. So that tends to be where it's getting well known. Earlier stage companies, I think people give out titles that are too big too early. So that's a problem that we can talk about. People give the COO title to somebody who's really more of a director of operations. So the best traits for a COO are people that are really good at strong cross-functional decision-making. If you're the head of marketing, you have to be amazing at marketing. If you're the head of IT, you have to be amazing at IT. If you're the COO, you have to be amazing at people. So at leading people, at running process, at running collaboration, running strategy, getting all the departments thinking and working together. So they have to be very strong on the people side of the business, and they have to be functionally, understand all the business areas, but they don't have to have the deep domain expertise of a business area. So they need to understand marketing. They need to understand IT. They need to understand finance. They need to understand HR. They need to understand the areas enough to be able to get that collaboration happening. That tends to be, I think, a really strong point that most CEOs are good at. Let's say that you're the head of marketing for a SaaS company. You could probably be the head of marketing for any SaaS company. If you're the COO, you have to be the yin and yang match to the entrepreneur. So you have to match the skills of that entrepreneur. Anywhere that they're weak, you have to be strong. You have to match the areas that the entrepreneur doesn't like. You have to really like those areas because you're really kind of taking all that stuff off their plate. So it's a very weird role that way. In some companies, marketing reports to the COO. In some, it doesn't. In some, IT reports to the COO. In some, it doesn't. In some, finance does. So it's really that weird yin and yang balance. It's almost like if I was walking down the road, if I was single and I was looking for a wife, I'm like, oh, you used to be a wife? You used to be married? Oh, you'd be great as my wife. No, we don't know anything about each other. But if somebody's really good at the head of IT for a SaaS business, they're probably going to be good at head of IT for any SaaS company. So it's that weird balance where you're looking for someone that has the right behavioral traits, they have the right skill set, they have the right personality profile, and they've scaled a company or scaled an organization that's going to go through this next stage. They've already done that once or twice before. When I joined 1-800-GOT-JUNK, it was such a small company. I really wasn't there to be there for the long term. I was there to coach my best friend and help him scale it. But we ended up that 8 or 9 of the core 10 things that need to happen over the next 3 years, I knew how to do them all because I'd done it twice already. I'd already built 2 other franchise companies to very large scales. So I'd already done what needed to be done. And when I joined Brian at 1-800-GOT-JUNK, he showed me a 2-page description of what he wanted his company to look like in 3 years. And every sentence was kind of a future state. And I'm like, I can make that come true. I can make that come true. I know how to do that. He's like, I don't even know how to do this. I'm like, well, I can do 80% of these sentences. I can make these come true. So I was very inspired and excited about making that come true. And then the next thing he said was he wanted to build a globally admired brand, which meant that everything that we did had to be something that people said wow about, right? We were always talking about the pursuit of wow. And so what could we do? That meant our interviewing had to be wow, our culture had to be wow, our branding had to be wow. So everything we did had to be that big stretch. The reason we got Simon Sinek to be on our board 5 years before he wrote the book Start With Why was we were so enamored with his skills and his understanding that we found a way to plug him in. Everything was building a globally admired brand. Our core values were something that we obsessed over, right? So we hired people against the core values. We fired people if we broke the core values. We celebrated the core values. I got a mentor who was being groomed as the CEO at Starbucks to mentor me because they were such a great organization. So Greg was able to mentor and grow me. Everything was aligned with that. And I think when a CEO can get their COO to be aligned with those things, that's really what's going to stretch the COO to build an even greater company. But if Brian had just come in and said, Okay, let's get to work. Let's grow this. It's a junk business. We're just hauling garbage. There's nothing exciting about that. And there was only 14 people and there was ripped carpeting. Like there was nothing exciting in the day to day. The excitement was the vision of what we wanted to build. When the CEO and COO are not in sync, when they're not meshed, when they're not aligned, when vision's not meeting strategy or vision's not meeting execution, when they're on different pages, the rest of the leadership team feels that kind of uncertainty. They feel the disjointedness. So they really do have to stay on the same page, right? The CEO has to really be very aware as to what the plan is and how the execution is happening. And the COO has to stay very in sync with the culture and the core values, the core purpose and the vision of what the CEO wants to create. And I even talk about date night. They need to get out of the office together and spend some time together to stay in sync and to like each other as humans, right? They need to stay away from the rest of the kids so they get to stay in sync and like each other and work on stuff and to make sure that you can almost complete each other's thoughts. I think it's really important to be able to do that.